I'm Peter Marsh, and welcome to another Aether in ATX video. This is my 10th video on this channel, and I realize that I have never directly stated what I believe manifestation is. I've certainly referenced manifestation many times in each of my videos, but I've never been like, this is what manifestation is. So let me break it down for you. I think the simple definition of manifestation, at least according to me, is when you take your thoughts about yourself and what you want inside, and you make the world outside, the 3D tangible world, reflect your own wants and beliefs. I think that we are manifesting every single moment of every single day, and we just don't realize it until we do a little research and we start to figure out how we each individually manifest. So you know me, when I do these videos, I like to refer to movies, sometimes books. A lot of times it's just storytelling in general. Storytelling is so intricately connected to my form of manifestation. So let me do my first dorky reference, right? There was a Star Wars book series. It also had like a cartoon that tied into it, other kinds of tie-in media. It was called The High Republic. And the first book in it, I believe it was called Light of the Jedi. It was written by Charles Soule. Has this one section where one of the main characters ponders the Force. And they think about how each different Jedi interprets the Force. And it was really cool because one of them pondered it like as if the Force was music, and they treated it like, you know, they were making music with it. Another person used the Force in like a very practical way, like it had to do with like physical things that you could touch. They all viewed this thing that like holds the whole Star Wars universe together, this ultimate power that you can tap into. They all viewed it in different ways based on their own personal experiences. That's what I think manifesting is. I think that each of us has our own way of manifesting, and it's unique to us as individuals. For me, manifesting is connected to my computer, right? To my laptop where I write. So I am constantly journaling every single day. There's been times where I have written out scenarios that I'd like to have happen, and then I start to see examples of that happen in the 3D tangible world. One thing, like, because I've been doing this, I've been looking into manifestation since I would say January of 2025, or at the very least February of 2025. And I would start to watch YouTube videos, and I would start to read things that people had written on manifestation, just doing a lot of research. And what kind of prompted that was that I was watching this video by one of my favorite comic book writers, probably my favorite comic book writer of all time, Grant Morrison. He was talking about chaos magic. I was in kind of a, excited mood that night, and I just decided to watch this little speech he gave on chaos magic. And, I started to watch videos like that every night before I'd go to bed, and that led me to the manifestation stuff. Now, I don't personally believe in magic, but I do think that some of the ideas that people bring up when they talk about magic go along with manifestation. I think that just it all kind of comes down to the same kind of core thing, where it's like you want to change the 3D world around you, and so you have your own personal rituals, and whatever those rituals look like, they will give you the results that you're looking for. So I think it's time for me to also explain where the AETHER in ATX name comes from. When I was in my mid-20s and I still lived in Staten Island, I would go to this one comic book store called Comic Book Jones. And the guy that ran the store was awesome, and he had nicknames for every single one of his main customers. It would always be like something Jones, right? And so he gave a nickname to me. He called me Anchor Jones. Now, I don't know where he got Anchor from, and I actually never asked him to explain, but he would call me Anchor when I would come in. I just liked the sound of it. So that's why I made the Anchor Pete channel eventually, and I have all these, usernames and stuff that are like Anchor Pete this, right? So Anchor has always been a thing for me, and then I reached this point I don't know, a couple months ago at this point, like maybe 2 months ago or so, where I was at a crossroads and I could be really down, just lay on my couch, just watch something, read something, take a nap, or I could get up and do something, right? And so when I did that, I've mentioned this in a previous video, I got up, went for a walk, just listened to songs that like really power me up, songs that are really important to me, and I just felt so good. And I was like, oh, I love that feeling. I want to be in that feeling all the time. And so I thought, okay, well, I need to give this feeling a name. And so I was coming up with a name, and I was thinking, okay, it has to be the opposite of anchor, because anchor, like an anchor itself, weighs something down, right? It holds something in place. So it needs to be the opposite. So I eventually came up with AETHER, which just, kind of means like this sort of nebulous, airy thing where it's like not held down, right? It's just like flowing. And that's where AETHER comes from. And so for me, just to get a little peek inside my brain, I usually look at my experiences in two different states, right? There is the anchor state that I have named for myself, where it's like, that's when I kind of feel low. That's when I think like the most negative things about myself. That's when the world seems like a difficult place to deal with. And then there's the AETHER state where it's like, nah, I feel really great. Like I'm proud of myself. I'm really happy with my life. Things are going really well. Look at all these opportunities, right? So I kind of go back and forth. And nowadays I feel pretty fortunate because I'm in the AETHER state most of the time. Whereas it was the anchor state for most of my life. I was just like that for the majority of my life. And then the more I would do manifestation practices, like I'd have all these personal rituals, the less and less I'd be in that anchor state. And so it's gone from, it was like 85% of my experience was in the anchor state, and then it went down to like 70%, eventually 50%, and now I'd say maybe it's like 20% or less. So, I mean, it's work, it's ongoing work, and I've been doing this for less than a year, but, I'm trying to stay in that AETHER state as long as possible. So now you know the name, the reason behind the name of this channel. So now let's talk about one last thing. Let's talk about the personal rituals that we have that help us manifest what we want, right? Everyone has their own individual rituals, and that's based on who you are. So I can't tell you what your ritual is going to be. I can just tell you what my ritual is, right? And you can come up with your own rituals. But I try to meditate every single day. For a while there, I was meditating every day. But I've been like very busy in the past week, and so I haven't been able to do it every single day. But I meditate for at least 10 minutes per day. I'd like to get that number up. But that's what I try to do, like at least 10 minutes, okay? Now, the meditation part is crucial. I think no matter what rituals you use to manifest, I think that you have to have this meditation state at some point. You have to be in a state where you are just tuning out your thoughts and you're just closing yourself off to the outside world, and you just have peace, and you're just breathing, you're focusing in on your breathing, and you're just clearing your mind of everything around you. I think that that is key. And there's this one guy that I follow on Substack. I can't remember his first name's Damien. I think it's Damien Eccles. But he was saying how a lot of people believe that when you meditate, like you automatically have this epiphany, and just like meditating once, you have these amazing results. And he was saying that really meditation is something that you have to practice over and over again for months, years, before you get to this state of like having like true peace and like a clear mind. I firmly believe in that too. I don't think I'm at that point at all. Thoughts pop into my head all the time when I meditate. I still get kind of restless when I meditate. So I haven't reached that point yet, but I'm working on it. Right? Another thing that is crucial to the whole manifestation process is that there's the idea of the wish fulfilled, right? There's the idea that you can visualize yourself in the best possible way. Like you're in the best health, You're in a financial situation that is the best possible financial situation. You're surrounded by friends and loved ones. You're with this like loving romantic partner who's there for you, that you're attracted to. You're, doing any kind of creative thing that you want that's fulfilling, right? Like it's just your best life. And you have to visualize what that actually looks like. Now, to visualize that accurately, you have to ask yourself a lot of deep, important questions. And these are questions that can be kind of uncomfortable to ask, but they're so crucial. One of the most important questions is, do I want this particular thing because I truly want it? Or do I want this particular thing because my whole life people have told me this is what you should want? That's such a crucial question, right? And it's just every single day of your life, people are telling you exactly what you should want. On like a twisted, corrupted level, that's like so many industries are just based on that, right? Of telling you, this is what you should want, you don't have it, and here we're going to give you the means to get it, right? Spend your money and we'll give it to you, right? That's like advertising, that's everything, and that we're bombarded by it on a daily basis. But then there's also the more personal level of that, where it's like your parents raise you a certain way and you say, hey, I really want this. And then your parents say, it's good that you want that, but you really should want this over here. And ultimately, every single person that you interact with, they have a role for you that they want you to fill. And so they're going to tell you what they believe is the right thing for you, but ultimately it's what they want you to do in their world, in their reality. Like if Peter does this, this is going to work out best for me. It's not your own individual thing. One thing that helped me out a lot in life, my grandmother was like so devoted to my grandfather for decades and decades, right? And then he died of pancreatic cancer, and then my grandmother was by herself. And she carried on. She lived on for a long time. But when that happened, it made me think, okay, if I was to get with a significant other and be with them for the rest of my life, what would I do when they eventually died? What would bring me solace? What would bring me happiness? And that always was a guiding light for me, because I realized it's like you can love someone so deeply and put so much energy into them, so much time, so much effort, but they could die, right? At some point, and you'll be by yourself. And you might be too old to find another person. And so you have to have this independent thing that makes you happy. And for me, it's always been writing and enjoying movies and being creative and, just talking about movies and books. Like that's been such a cornerstone for me. And so I've always made that a focus. And so that was kind of where my questions would lead to, that kind of stuff. Regardless of any other person in my life, this kind of stuff makes me happy. This is what I should focus on. And so that's how I came up with some of those answers to those questions. So the meditation is crucial. The realizing what you truly want for yourself and separating it from what other people want for you. And then imagining yourself having that is crucial. One last thing is that you have to really have an awareness of your own feelings and emotions. You have to think, okay, I'm reacting this way in this moment. Why? Why am I reacting this way? And then there's so many things, especially for me, man, holy jeez. Like there's so many times where I would think, okay, this bad thing's gonna happen to me because of this, this, and this. Or like, I don't deserve this because of this, this, and this. And I would sit there and I would just justify being miserable all the time. And so I sat there and I thought to myself, I did like a deep analysis of myself, and I'd be like, well, why do I believe that? Why do I believe that I don't deserve this? Why do I believe that this is the right way to be? And I trace those back, and you'll see in one of my previous videos on limiting beliefs that like I was able to find the source of why I believe these certain things. And then when you could change that, when you start to think to yourself, no, I deserve this. This is what I want in my life. This is what makes me happy. I deserve this. When you have that mindset, you combine it with what you want to get out of life, and you have some kind of daily ritual that you do, then you will see results. I see results every single day. I'm not like changing reality like, I'm in the Matrix or something, or like I'm using magic. That's not happening. But more and more every single day, I'm seeing like, oh, I want this to happen, and then it happens. And the inverse happens because, like I said, we're manifesting all the time. The inverse used to be, oh, this bad thing is going to happen to me because of this. And because I don't think like that, those things haven't happened as much. Bad stuff is always going to happen to you, right? You're always going to encounter challenges. But to think that you deserve the bad things and that you don't deserve the good things, that's you're just always going to be stuck in this kind of unhappy place. And I, for one, I'm done being in that unhappy place. So hopefully, if you are in that kind of situation right now and you've watched this video, it's going to inspire you to want to go seek out people that know a lot more than I do about manifestation, and you can learn from them and you can make changes in your life. I'm still a work in progress. I still have a lot more to achieve and a lot more work that I have to put into myself, but I can say that I am a lot happier right now in my life than I've been possibly in my entire life. So it is worth doing the research. It is worth doing the work, because if I can do it, you can absolutely do it. All right, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I would greatly love if you could. I've seen a couple of comments from you guys too. It's so awesome just to have like random people commenting on this. Thank you. I will definitely write back to you. And I hope that you guys have a good rest of your week.